Hey guys, welcome back to my training series where I create a program in real time and then run it in real time, providing my insights, what I like to change about it, what I like about it, how I approach my training in general. So today is week 4, day 5 of my Hypertrophy 1.0 program. We're wrapping this up. I only got one more day left. That's tomorrow, which is the leg day. So this is the last pull session of this program. Today I'm starting with the assisted pull-up machine, and I've said it before and I'll mention it real quick. I just love doing the assisted variation because you're much more stable and locked into place, and therefore I think that you can easily approach muscular failure a lot easier than with like a conventional body weight pull-up. But that's not to say that a bodyweight pull-up is bad by any means, but I think that this is a great substitution if you're like not strong enough to do many body weight pull-ups, or you're just trying to get more repetitions in general. So I'm keeping the weight the same. I'm doing 20 pounds. So when you add this up, it's like 20 pounds plus your body weight, or sorry, subtracted from your body weight. So I weigh around like 210. So this would be about 190 that I'm counting towards the lift. I just record it as 20 though, because it's easier to track that way. But that's the thing with pull-ups is if you gain weight, then you're actually adding weight to how much you're doing a pull-up for. That's like how you kind of keep track of it. So when you're bulking, pull-ups actually become a lot harder than when you're cutting, in my opinion. Anyway, we're doing 4 sets today. So we're up from 3 to 4, and that's why I'm going to keep the weight the exact same. Um, because it was already challenging enough. I only got 9 for each set last week. So we're just going to try and hit 9 or 10, but then we're going to be doing 4 sets. So that's a form of progressive overload in of itself. I mean, we're increasing volume naturally throughout this program. That's the beautiful thing about a periodized program. Anyway, let's get into the first set. I am strapping up for this because I don't want my grip to be the limiting factor. And after 4 weeks of intense training, your grip starts to feel fatigued doing just about anything. You'll wake up, sore hands, shit like that. Ooh. Let's get 10. While doing pull-ups of any sort, I'm making sure that I'm fully elongated at the bottom so that I get the deepest stretch on my lats and as my back as a whole as I possibly can. The reason for this is because you want that weighted stretch in every portion of the lift, of any lift, if you can, you know, get it to happen. So I'm really emphasizing that bottom portion and then just trying to complete the range of motion the best I can. And when I'm doing it, I'm really trying to squeeze first with my lats. I know it's a little bit difficult later on in the set once you're like pretty fatigued and almost done to like preferentially target a certain part of your back while you're doing a lift like this. But just try your best. You know what I mean? It's definitely easier to enact the mind muscle connection in the first half or so of a lift. And then once you start getting fatigued, it's easy to throw it out the window. But just try your best not to, you know. All right, set number 3. Set number 2 was kind of challenging. I felt like I almost couldn't get 10 there, but I made it happen. I'm gonna try my best on this one as well, obviously. Shit. I honestly hope that I didn't get in my head by saying those words right before doing the set. Sometimes if you like speak about something in that regard, then I feel like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where whatever you say becomes fact on the next set. That applies to anything in life, but especially when it comes to strength training and hypertrophy training, you know what I mean? All right, guys, let's finish off pull-ups. Obviously, pull-ups are like a great overall back developer, but they're especially great for working your lats. I mean, if you ever take a pull-up set close or to muscular failure, you'll know that you're working the lats. You know, like I can definitely feel it whenever I do a rep. It's definitely lighting up the lats, which is great. You know, it's great because today this is the primary lat movement, and then we have the next exercise is that machine row where we're getting like the mid portion of the back, mid traps, low traps, rhomboids, all that shit, all that jazz. I'm not gonna put any numbers on this one. I don't want to psych myself out, but we're definitely gonna try our hardest. I mean, that goes without being said, right? Dang it. My arms pretty much lost all their juice there completely. I mean, at the end, I'm sure you guys saw that, I could only pull with my lats, which really isn't doing much in terms of the range of motion. It's only initiating it. Okay, I'm here at the machine row. This one kind of converges in a little bit, so I really like that. Strapping up again just because, as I mentioned earlier, the fatigue builds up and it kind of hits your grip first. So my grip is feeling a bit fatigued after 4 weeks of hard training with almost 0 days off. I mean, there's only 1 day off a week. Anyway, I'm going up 5 pounds. And today I really don't feel like going up 5 pounds, and I don't feel like I even can really go 5 pounds and still hit the same metrics I did last time. However, sometimes you just need to do it anyway because oftentimes your body isn't going to want to progressively overload in terms of load. You know, it's not going to want to just go up in weight and try harder. In fact, it very rarely does unless you really need it. You know what I mean? So today I'm forcing it, and we're just going to have to make it do what we want. You know what I mean? It's just going to have to be doing what I require it to. See, there you go. Even though my body really didn't want to go up to 135, I made it happen, and we still hit the same reps with pretty good form, if I say so myself. So it's a win in my book. I see a lot of guys just like swinging their weights around. And while if your goal is training for speed and power, that totally makes sense. If your goal is muscle size and growth and or strength, then I wouldn't recommend doing that because first of all, if you're training for strength, then you have to go pretty heavy. So if you're swinging the weights around, that probably means that you're either not going heavy enough or you're about to snap your shit up. And then if you're trying to train for size, then that time under tension, really making sure that you're destroying the muscle group and not just like throwing weights around is of the utmost importance. So decide what you're training for. If you're throwing weights around, then maybe you're approaching your training wrong, or you could just be training for something different. But I mean, I think it depends on, also the exercise. A lot of exercises, they just don't lend themselves well to be throwing the weights around like that. Okay. Last set of the rows, and then the rest of the workout is kind of a cakewalk, comparatively speaking. Okay, I'm going up 10 pounds on this lift, and this one isn't something that I need to like force myself to do. I do feel like on this one, I'm just naturally going up in weight because last time it felt a little bit easy for 12 reps. So we're up from 140 to 150. I think that's a solid progression. Anyway, I want to talk about how to find the seat positioning on this particular lift. If you guys have this machine, of course, I feel like it's a little bit more of a rarity. This is the straight arm lat pull down machine, by the way. So it's just working the lats in isolation. But I think that you want to adjust the seat according to whatever will give the full range of motion in your lats. So whatever will get the deepest stretch at the top where you can put your elbow all the way up. So you're doing humeral flexion as high up as you can go, your humerus being flexed up. Then that's going to be the ideal position for you. So whatever seat position, wherever the seat goes that allows that full humeral flexion is going to be ideal. Don't even worry about making sure that your feet hit the ground. You know what I mean? Like for me, where this is, let's see, it's gonna be a little bit difficult to get my feet flat on the ground, but that's not what I'm worried about here. That's not important to me. What's important is that I get the full range of motion of the exercise. Something that I was just thinking about while doing that set is I'm thankful that this is on like Google Drive, so I'm never going to really lose this data that I've collected for myself, like even if I don't include this in this particular machine future lifts, that doesn't mean that I can't look back and see, oh, I did this for this weight, this many sets, this many reps. So if I ever want to go back to it, I have the records and I'll remember like where to check. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go back and be able to hit my very best, like surpass my previous PR right off the bat, but I probably will be far off, and then I have like a good kind of like threshold to strive for next time. I have a good like some good records, you know what I mean? So I just thought that was like a blessing, because for the longest time I didn't record anything. I just kind of went in and like, I feel like I have enough knowledge where I can construct a good program on the fly day to day. However, our memories often deceive us, human memory is not perfect. And therefore, like, even if I think I did a certain amount of weight for a certain amount of reps on a certain day, I could be totally off without having those like hardcore records written down. Then how do I truly, truly know? Especially when the data was collected so long ago, or I'm trying to recall something from a long time ago. All right, another successful set in the books. We've got one more of these, and then I know I said that on the last exercise, the rest was going to be a cakewalk, but after this, it truly is a cakewalk. We just have like those machine rear delt flies, which I probably won't record, but then we have the bilateral straight arm cable flies, and then some bicep work to finish off the program, this particular day of the program. So we're getting very, very close. You guys see like a bunch of marks on my neck, or even this mark on my face. That's because before work yesterday, I was kind of in a rush and I was shaving and I nicked myself like worse than I ever have. I have blood streaming down from my face and like all over my neck. It looked like a crime scene, like a horror crime scene. Sorry, I don't know why I mentioned that. I just thought I'd fill you guys in if you saw something funky in my face. I know you guys aren't probably here for the personal stuff, but anyway, we'll get back into the lifting. Okay, let's move on. Next up, I'm doing the cable rear delt bilateral fly. I do this one in every single pull day. I think that it's a freaking fantastic exercise, and the way that the pec deck machine is oriented means that it's very, very hard to record. But I honestly, like, sometimes you just got to go with whatever feels best for your individual anatomy. And for me, this one feels best. I just feel a ton in my rear delts. You can't beat that. So I'm going up 1.5 pounds. I got 1.5 modifiers on this particular cable machine. So we're going up from 12.5 to 14. I'm going to try and hit, well, I'm going to do as many as I can, obviously, but try and surpass 13. That's what I got last time. All right, there's 13 for you. You know, I probably could have done a couple more, but we're doing a shit ton of volume for this exercise. I mean, this is 5 sets, 13 reps, 14 pounds. That's a good amount of volume for the rear delts. And you got to keep in mind that with something like the rear delts, you're already hitting on every single back movement that you do. You're at least hitting it a little bit, you know. Any type of row that you're doing, the rear delts they're responsible for shoulder retraction like this. So anything where you're retracting your shoulder is gonna be working the rear delts. It's just that higher up is gonna give them better leverage to be working versus lower down. They're not gonna have the best levers to be enacting the most force that they possibly can. So further down typically means more lats. Higher up typically means more rear delt. Kind of somewhere in the middle is like the other muscle groups. So it's kind of the way that I look at it when formulating my back training. You kind of want a row or a pole, some sort of pole in each kind of range. So we just did one kind of like this. Now we're doing a fly like this. And then we did lats, which is kind of close to the body. And then we did the straight arm lat pull down, which is also close to the body. So we got two close to the body. And then we got one kind of mid range. And then we got this fly, which is out here. And then on top of that, we're going to be adding a row to get some more compound, some more like biceps and whatnot out of it, to add in some more rear delt volume on top of that. So, and honestly, the rear delt row of the cable variation that we do, that's like one of my least favorite exercises. I'm gonna have to change it up a little bit for the next program because I dread doing it, to be honest. It just doesn't feel right to me. You know, I like the rope face pull more than that. So I think that, you know, if you don't like an exercise, change it out. I preach that all the time. I say that all the time. You know, training should be fun. It shouldn't be something that you despise. Ugh. The beautiful thing about doing multiple sets is that even though I know that we have 5 sets in the first set, it wasn't that difficult. I know that by the 5th set, I'm gonna be freaking wrecked because already right there, second set, difficult, much more difficult than first. What is that, 3? I got 2 more of this particular lift. It's not too bad. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll get pretty particular about like which hand is grabbing what when doing a bilateral movement like this, because I feel like when one hand is on top and one hand is on the bottom, you may run into muscle imbalances. But that's just like my intuition. I don't think that it's actually true, especially with something like this where your hands are pretty much even. The only difference is that one cable is on top of each other, which is like a centimeter in length of a difference. I don't think that your body is actually going to pick up on that and any real change is going to happen. But if you are like super careful and conscious about stuff like that, then I would just say rotate the hand that goes on top. You know what I mean? All right, last set. Let's get it. Last set of these anyway. All right, guys, because of the nature of the gym being as busy as it is, I can't lock down a incline bench press to do these curls off of, one that will allow me to record. So I am opting to just do a seated incline curl, which I think is a great substitution if you must. I do prefer the incline variation because then you get humeral extension where your humerus is actually behind your body. So that's a little bit better because then you put the biceps under stretch. But, you know, we don't have the option today, but I think that's okay. You know, it's okay to mix it up from time to time, especially since this is the first time we're mixing it up in 4 weeks. So it's a little awkward. Okay. I said 10 there because this shit is extremely, sorry, pardon my language. The way that I'm doing these, it's extremely awkward with this. This is actually like an ab crunch machine that I'm seated on. So for the remainder sets, the next, I think we got 3 more sets of these. I'll be doing them standing for sure. Good, we can do the wrist extend or the wrist curls seated. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do bilateral form, and then once it gets really difficult, we'll swap to unilateral. I think that's a good intensity technique for something like this. Now unilateral. Let's do the wrist curls standing. See, sometimes you just gotta improvise a little bit, make a few changes. And that's why I think that knowing how the body works from an exercise eccentric standpoint is invaluable. You know, it's very important in my opinion. But you know, some people just don't have an interest in it and they'd rather follow an app or just follow a training program and not change it, which is totally fine. You know, everybody has different levels of interest in certain things. You know what I mean? Like, I love music. I would love to create music one day. But as it stands right now, I don't have very much knowledge, and it's hard to get myself to gain the knowledge. You know what I mean? Because I don't my interest for music isn't quite as high as my interest is for lifting, so I just don't spend as much time on it. I would love that to change. I'd love to become more interested in it. And that kind of brings me to the idea of like, how do you get yourself to become more interested in something that you want to pursue? You know what I mean? Does it mean that because you're not interested in it, that you never will be and you probably shouldn't pursue it? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because some people, they just get introduced something at an early age and that's all they know. And they think that they're like super into it, so they follow it long term. So there's like, just depends. Some people don't get into their passion until later in life. So just because you don't have that like initial spark doesn't mean that it may not become your sense of fulfillment later on. Set number trace. Now unilateral. I honestly need to add these into the next program. I really like it. I feel it a crazy amount. All right, guys, last one of this particular lift. Now for unilateral. Okay, I'm gonna finish off with the machine preacher curls to make it a little bit easier. However, if you guys have access to that incline, I recommend that you do it as we've been doing it for all the previous weeks. Just that today, because I couldn't snag that incline, I'm just gonna do it this way. So, all right, guys, to finish off my biceps today, we're gonna be doing the machine preacher curls. Well, I would prefer to do the dumbbell incline variation, like I mentioned earlier. I don't have access to the incline bench, so I'm just going to do it this way. I think that is totally fine to do it this way, just because it's the same freaking movement. Both of them are having your tricep supported while you're curling your bicep and your elbow joint. So and they're both a very, very like stable and locked into place. Though this one is a little bit more stable, I think that that's totally okay. In terms of substitutions, this is as close as it gets to the original lift as you can possibly get. So let's do it. I'm keeping the weight the same because we went up last time already and it felt good. Okay, that's one down. We're doing 3 in total so that we get 7 sets of direct bicep work. And then, we did 6 sets of a pull. So I count that as half bicep. So anything where the biceps is the secondary mover, I count it as half. And that actually goes for every single exercise. With like a bench press, for example, your secondary mover is the triceps. It's that assisting muscle group. So you account the triceps as a half set when doing pressing lifts. So in the same vein, since I'm doing pulling lifts, I count it as half sets for the biceps. So we did 6 pulls. So that's 3 sets for biceps. Then we just did 4 sets of the dumbbell curl. We set it to 7. And then with 3 of these, that brings us up to 10. And since we're doing it 2 times a week frequency, that's 10 times 2, which is 20. So we're getting a total of 20 sets for this week for our biceps alone. And that actually goes for every muscle group. It's all calibrated. I mentioned this briefly before, but I'm trying really hard not to sway very much while doing this lift. By nature of being seated and being locked into this machine, swaying isn't as much of an issue as it is with something like the dumbbell preacher curl on the incline. That one's a lot more challenging to not sway with because you're standing. You know, any movement where you're standing up is going to inherently involve more complexity, you know, and more complexity means that you have more variables that you have to account for while you're lifting, while you're trying to keep your form rigid. But, you know, with this one, it's not very hard to keep your body rigid, but for some people it may be, especially if you're kind of new to lifting, new to training and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say is just try your best. Got a little bit sloppy there towards the end, but I have no excuses. I got a little sloppy. I think I'm just getting antsy about finishing this program. You know, I'm about done with it. I'm ready to move on to newer and better things. Anyways, guys, that's gonna conclude week 4, day 5. So we only have one more day left of this program, and we're all done. And I'm gonna take I'm debating whether to take a week off or just hop right into the next one. I think I probably should take a week off, but we'll just see how I feel on Monday and see how, if I'm completely ready to run another program. But anyway, see you guys tomorrow.